I had spent years working hard, earning every single dime, and giving up many of the tiny comforts in life. I had always believed that one day my sacrifices would pay off. And now, after numerous arduous evenings and even longer days, I had finally attained my aim. I had managed to hide away $400,000 in a heavily secured safe at home, a safe I had built long ago, full of secrets and intentions that only I knew. I remember the feeling of pride as I looked at the statistics and thought about the future I had built. That morning, I was so excited that I couldn't wait to share the news with Olivia. I imagined her smile, the gentle touch of her hand as she complimented me, and the loving embrace that would follow. I had prepared every detail in my thoughts, each moment perfectly lined up for a celebration of our shared life. However, the next morning, everything changed. I woke up to a cold, lonely silence in our once lively home. The bed next to me was bare, and the air felt heavy with a sense of foreboding. My heart hammered as I made my way to the kitchen, half expecting to find Olivia bustling around, ready to celebrate. But instead, I saw the room bereft of all warmth. On the counter lay a carefully folded note, written in Olivia's exquisite yet forceful handwriting, a handwriting I had known for years, now bearing a message that froze me to the bone. The note read, "I put too much money in you, so it's my right to take it back." For a second, I just stood there, frozen in shock. My head reeled as I struggled to digest the absurd situation that had unfolded overnight. I felt a bitter laugh rising in my throat, a chuckle mixed with anguish and a terrible sense of betrayal. I carefully reached out and touched the note as if it were a fragile piece of glass that could break at any time. In that instant, I understood that everything I had constructed, the hard work, the endless hours of stress, the sacrifices that had defined my life, seemed to have been for naught. My hands trembled as I turned over the note in my thoughts, examining every memory we had shared. But then, a single gloomy notion crept in. The safe that Olivia had taken with her was not what it seemed. I had planned for this day, a day when I might need to hide the reality behind a brilliant deception. That safe was nothing more than a decoy, a simple prop made to fool anyone who dared to oppose my ideas. The actual money, the true savings, of my years of effort, was stored far away, untouched, and waiting for the proper moment to be claimed. As I stood there, the harsh irony of the scenario seeped in. Olivia had assumed she was collecting my riches, that she was winning some twisted game she had made up herself. Instead, she had unintentionally stumbled into a trap that I had planned out long ago, a trap that would soon disclose the truth behind every secret and every sacrifice. I felt a peculiar mix of emotions, treachery, sadness, and a tinge of joy that my plan was already at work. In that peaceful moment, the mansion seemed to whisper the truth. Every action she had taken was already foreseen. Every step she took had been meticulously recorded in the depths of my thoughts. I closed my eyes and took a long breath, feeling both the weight of loss and the strength of resolve. This was merely the beginning of a long and tortuous journey, a journey that would force both of us to face the repercussions of our decisions, our secrets, and the hidden truths that had shaped our life. Now, with the message in my palm and the knowledge of my secret fortune burning inside me, I realized that I had to act. The game was on, and every piece was in place. The safe she took was only a symbol of the broader deceit at work, a deception that would soon turn the tables on her, exposing that the actual prize was never the money, but the power of secrets and the fortitude of one man willing to restore what was truly his. I sat down at the kitchen table, my head weary and my heart full of questions. The shock from last night still persisted as I studied the note Olivia had left. I knew she had arranged everything with care. The harsh truth was now evident. Every step she made was purposeful, and so I was forced to play along with her twisted, Game. I took a long breath and tried to steady my quivering hands. I had always trusted her, and now I had to accept that her actions were part of a wider strategy, one that I had predicted long, long ago. The false safe she snatched was nothing more than a distraction. I had placed the real money away in a secure area, safe from her false grip. As I sat there, lost in thought, my phone rang on the table. It was a message from Marcus, my best buddy and business partner. His words were brief, yet filled with concern. "Are you okay? You didn't show up this morning." I felt a flood of confused feelings as I made a rapid reply. "Olivia's gone. She took the safe with her." There was a gap before Marcus reacted with disbelief, and I could hear the desperation in his tone when he asked, "You're kidding?" I wanted to say the same, but the truth was harder than I had ever imagined. I glanced at the note again, feeling that sardonic laugh building up inside me despite the ache. Marcus's encouragement reminded me that I was not alone, and as he offered help, I began to see the first glimmer of a plan formulating in my head. I determined that I would let her believe she had won a grand victory. In that moment, I recognized that every detail of our existence together had led to this very point. I recalled the countless evenings I had spent preparing and saving, knowing that one day I might have to fight back. The money was concealed safely, a secret treasure that only I knew the location of. And it was a tool I could use to turn the tables. I began to repeat the events in my memory, noting the little signs that something was not right. Olivia's smile, once warm and familiar, had lately carried a tone of cold calculation. I had missed the subtle clues, the furtive glances, the unspoken tensions during our peaceful evenings together. Suddenly, with the safe gone and the note in my fingers, everything fell into place. I started to draft my next move while Marcus's words lingered in my head. I decided that I would let her think she had stolen everything while secretly plotting a counterattack that would expose her genuine intentions. My mind raced with ideas on how to use the information, how to use the decoy to my advantage. I recalled every part of our existence, the discussions we had, the promises we made, and the plans we built together. And now, I was determined to mold those memories into a weapon against her betrayal. As I looked around the room, the familiar objects of our shared life suddenly felt like relics of a past that was both beautiful and cruel. I understood that every sacrifice, every sleepless night spent thinking about the future, had led me to this moment of painful clarity. With a heavy heart and a steely resolution, I resolved to follow the plan that had been tucked away as securely as my secret money. The betrayal stung profoundly, yet it had given me the strength to move forward and reclaim control of my life. In that moment, I stepped into a realm of calculated risks and concealed secrets. The road ahead would be long and full of hurdles, but I was ready to face it head-on. Every heartbeat informed me that I was still alive. And the true fortune? It lay not in the money itself, but in the power of knowing the truth and using it to rebuild my future, exactly as I had planned. Keeping every nuance in case the time came when I needed undeniable proof of her betrayal. Every encounter, every seemingly innocent statement was analyzed. I pored over emails and revisited discussions from the past, searching for the subtlest inconsistency, a time when her perfectly crafted falsehoods faded in the solitude of my study. With only the faint buzz of the city outside to break the silence, I built a dossier that grew heavier with each passing day. Marcus and I spent many evenings cross-referencing facts and piecing together the greatest mosaic of deception that Olivia had so beautifully created. Each little conflict, each offhand phrase became a vital thread in the tapestry of evidence that I was constantly weaving. There were moments in the stillness before dawn when the weight of my double life pressed down on me. I would stare at the scattered papers and recordings, feeling a pang of guilt for the man I once was. a man who had believed fully in the pledges we had made. But even as those memories ached, I clung to the notion that every sacrifice, every bit of faked unhappiness was a necessary component of the wider plan. I had to appear shattered, fragile enough to beguile her into a false sense of supremacy. For beneath that mask of defeat was the blazing resolution to restore not just my riches, but the truth and dignity that had been so cruelly stripped away. Public appearances were staged with care. I attended gatherings with a look of complete misery, a living testament to the anguish of my loss. Yet behind closed doors, in the privacy of my study, I evaluated each contact, noting how a single sympathetic glance or an offhand remark contributed to the narrative I was meticulously creating. The long game was as much about perception as it was about evidence. I needed everyone, friends, colleagues, even casual acquaintances, to believe that I was a man defeated by fate, so that when the day came to unveil Olivia's true nature, the shock would be all the more profound. I listened attentively to the murmurs of gossip, to the tiny shifts in tone whenever my misfortune was mentioned. Each empathetic phrase, each emotional narrative perpetuated the illusion that I was at rock bottom. Yet every such time fueled the secret fire within me, a decision to exploit this contrived infirmity as the very tool of my resurgence. The irony was not lost on me. The very exhibition of vulnerability that she expected to see would become the catalyst for her downfall. With each carefully planned message and every rehearsed moment of despair, I was not merely biding my time. I was turning her overconfidence against her. Now, as the first light of day burst over the horizon, I felt